Okay, I'm checking in to see whether I am audible enough and whether the work that I'm presenting is exactly what you're seeing. I could just ask for feedback, whether you're looking at introduction to geographical data. All right, are we all back? I could just use in case you're back, you can put your hand up in case you're back. All right. Thank you so much. Those who have put their hands up as we wait for quorum, because we had said get back at 15 to 3.
Yeah. Rogers, just to guide, so we will proceed. You cannot wait for latecomers. We will just proceed.
All right. Thank you so much, Abel. All right. Thank you so much, everyone who's able to tune in. This is an introduction to graphical analysis or spatial analysis, as most people call it. And some things that we could look at in form of statistics, given that most of my background is biostatistics, which has a number of elements in epidemiology. However, it's not the only area where geographical data or spatial analysis is applied. However, I wanted to have us focused more towards how we use spatial data to have it answer some of the epidemiology questions, so that we can have a focus towards towards biostatistics or epidemiology with the background that most of us come from the School of Public Health, or have a background in modeling or statistics. So in case we are talking about spatial data, we are looking at attributes or things that could relate to coordinates. That's where most of our interest is, or geographical positioning in terms of the Earth, and all that we can call it coordinates or observations. However, this is not only limited to what we see in terms of prevalence. There are so many other things that we could look at. And so one of the things that come up in dealing with why we need spatial data is because sometimes the effects that we measure in epidemiology could in one way be underestimated or overestimated or influenced by someone's location. So when we look at the types of data, spatial data, we are looking at one of the most common ones is the area data, where you have the units, the way they are divided in terms of urban or rural or administrative units. That we in Uganda, where we have the smallest administrative unit being a parish, a zone, then you go to a sub-county, county, and then district or division. Those are the administrative units. So when you talk about aerial data, we are looking at data in terms of borders or boundaries or administrative units, where we can get the number of cases per division or number of disease cases per country or number of cases or something per a certain administrative unit. So when we talk about administrative data, that is what we are looking at. And below we see the cardiovascular standardized mortality rates. That was in Switzerland. And this one, it was far away divided into border points, literally every zone within the country, trying to show the prevalence of cardiovascular mortality. So in case someone comes across such a map, this map is called, it was extracted and it is showing aerial data. Remember, aerial data has administrative units, and the reporting is in regards to administrative units. So such maps, we call them maps that have been extracted using aerial data. And by that, we can have more and more of such data. However, we are not only limited to that. And some of the aims that we use aerial that could help us, some of the epidemiological questions that help us to answer aerial, we can answer using aerial data, identifying spatial patterns. We've heard of temporal patterns of a disease where you are having what some people call time series analysis. In the epidemiological world, sometimes we call it spatial temporal analysis. This in a world of spatial analysis. So you have cases that are reported over time, and you want to compare whether there was an increment, what are the changes that happened. So answering such questions might be done or is easier done when you have aerial data, because you're answering cases in regards to an administrative boundary. As well, it can also help us to identify associations between an outcome and the factors that may vary gradually over time, which takes us to ecological studies. For example, I think the easiest example in this is you can try to model if malaria cases vary with the weather. Because right now we know that when it is raining, there's a lot of stagnant water somewhere, and there'll be a lot of breeding. That breeding will cause more mosquitoes that will end up having more cases of malaria. So you might be interested in knowing, do we have more malaria cases during the hot season or the rainy season? And does this vary from one region or to another? Why do we have malaria cases in the hot regions of the country like Karamoja, where the climate is quite different, versus the hilly areas like the Western Uganda? And because those questions are there, in epidemiology, you're going to have a few questions answering residence, number of cases in a place, but you have missed out on the part where the climate is going to affect. So we use aerial data to try to assess such effects. One of the most common is being that. The other type of data is geostatistics, that which arises from a fixed set of locations, but within a continuous study region. For example, here you're trying to say, okay, in a certain region, in our map, we are looking at the prevalence of diarrhea in children under 5, and this was from DRC Congo. But this is, you're observing children from certain homes. and subspecific region. So you are choosing to represent your data as a point. Then you're trying to see that of these points, what was the prevalence? Here, when you talk about prevalence, we're not only talking about cases, we are talking about what happened in that region versus the number that is there. For example, you can have 40 malaria cases out of 100 of the population. That is what you're trying to answer out when you have such data. So in the prevalence, you are having it against a denominator. So when you have such data, you're answering, you are literally looking at geostatistics. Okay, so in this, you are assessing what is the geographical variation within the data. Does the prevalence vary from one region to another, from one home to another? And how can we predict the new locations or the new, where else might diarrhea occur in case there is a similarity in the characteristics of a region? So those are some of the types of data, and our last one being point data. That data which arise when the locations of particular events are not fixed. So we are looking at mainly random quantities. And our easiest cases are malaria cases, because in the sub-Saharan Africa, I think it is rare to have a person who has never had malaria, especially if they're above 10. So here, because of the such movements, we know that malaria can occur anywhere. We are looking at points, and there we are looking at specifically the GPS coordinates. And some of the things that we are looking at are the risk factors by which some of these clusters are associated. So here, because of point data, we are able to answer a number of questions that look at spatial autocorrelation, which we are going to look at later in our analysis of the other day when I am back. And all this is an introduction to spatial analysis. So I want to first pause there to ask if any person has any questions, and we may switch to our R interface and we see what is happening and how do we go about everything.
Rogers, I can go first.
Yes, please.
I can go first. Rogers,
Please go ahead.
can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Please go ahead.
Yeah. In this map that you've shown, what would the size of a dot imply in terms of interpreting of the results? Like the size, I could see like if there are so many, like maybe they are scattered, I would understand that, but what about the size of the dot? What would that mean? I'm not sure whether you were privy to maybe the data which was used.
Okay. Now, when it comes to the size of the dots, it is a way we can also represent our data. For example, we could have the different dots represent different size, different prevalences or number of cases in a region. And that's one of the best ways to have a map speak more at the same time. For example, we can say in this exact case, putting it back in context, in this exact case, we can look at the different dots and the colors, or the different dots and their sizes, to try to speak. Here in this context of Switzerland, we are trying to differentiate the cases by gender. That's why some Yeah, so sorry about that. My network got off, but I don't know if I answered your question, Abel.
No, I think I lost you. I didn't get it quite well. Maybe just help me to repeat it.
Okay. So the sizes of the dots is one way of representing data on a map. However, most cases where we can use the dots and the different colors that are coming, that could also have our map speak more to a person other than just having prevalence. For example, in this case, the locations of malaria cases in Switzerland, it was segregated by gender, where we are having the different colors stand for the males and the females in one map. And then those different colors are going also by different number of cases. The bigger the size of the dot, the more the cases, and it goes on reducing up to the smallest. So it means that our map is speaking more to us other than just showing cases. So we are having it segregated by gender and any other demographic that we could be of interest. That is one way of having the dots represented in our map. And at the same time, we could have these different dots also go from one year onto another. They could go by size, they could go by shape, they could go by color. So those dynamics that happen, here we're looking at 5 years, and the size of the dot can help us represent the years, so that the bigger dots would be 2010 and 2015. However, the most common practice is usually the bigger dot represents the highest number of cases, and they go on reducing till the end. It depends on the person running the analysis, but in most cases, size of the dot, the bigger the size, the more the cases. However, I can also change it to represent a different parameter altogether. Are there any other questions? Yes, please go ahead, Michael.
Well, thank you, Rogers. I just want you to help me react on the data that you are talking about, because I had some issue with the network and I only got to see point pattern data and the geostatistics data.
All right, thank you so much, Michael. We have point data and the geostatistics data. However, there is this aerial data, which is quite the most common one. This is very common because it is before we go into breaking down where was the exact person located, we can get to know this data being reported in our normal lives. For example, I have a region, let me say an administrative unit called a division. And I could have my number of cases of a disease or an outcome being reported by the division. So because I have different divisions in the country, which are different in number of cases of the outcome, for this case, the one that we are looking at is the cardiovascular mortality. So you're looking at this in Switzerland was based by zone. And every zone had a reporting of the number of cases that happened. So that was standardized in 2 rates. but it was still, our main point was our unit of analysis was the division, was the zone. So when talk about area data, is data being reported per administrative unit. And it comes to a country. However, it can also be per, we are just looking at one unit, area unit. So that kind of data, when we find it, call it area data. So we have division A having 40 cases, division B 100 cases, division C. So when we are mapping such data and the map comes out in such a way, we are looking at aerial data. Then that kind of data helps us mainly looking at the spatial temporal patterns, which could be the prevalence of a disease. In a case, it's just one cross-sectional study where the outcome is measured once. Area data can help us identify such. For example, what I'm currently working on is looking at pediatric AMR, antimicrobial resistance, the prevalence of antimicrobial resistance in the country. That is because the data is quite rare, we can only have it reported per country. So we can look at the cases of antimicrobial resistance in Uganda versus Kenya, versus Tanzania, and any other sub-Saharan Africa country. And because we may not be able to capture the cases of where exactly they are located, but we know that it is being reported per country, we can have that help us to identify or to map out antimicrobial resistance within sub-Saharan Africa. Such kind of data is one we call aerial data, and it helps us to answer such questions. The other questions it helps us to answer are ecological studies, where you are having, let me say, the weather changes in a district versus a disease. One of the examples that I've seen being mapped out is the malaria cases versus weather. And weather is usually reported for an administrative unit. For example, we can have the weather forecast in Kampala as a city, the weather forecast in Nairobi, the weather forecast in the major cities. So because you're looking at such, and this weather forecast changes on a daily, we can try to see whether the cases of malaria are more when the weather forecast has reported that it's going to be a rainy season, or when it is a hot season or a dry season. So such epidemiological questions are answered when we apply or transform our data to be aerial in nature. So such are called ecological studies. So those are some of the most common ones. However, we can apply aerial data to answer more things. However, the most common questions are such. So in case you are having a question that you're trying to respond to, you have to first go around and try to identify what exactly is my outcome and how is it reported. In case my outcome is reported in terms of administrative units, I have a picture of how my data is going to look like. My map is going to look like in the end. I have that ready. So in mind, before I start the analysis, I know where the end, I have a glimpse of how the end should look like. Then we go to geostatistics. Geostatistics, here you're looking at fixed locations. For example, this one could be, the easiest example could be a hospital. You are having the different hospitals in the city. In my country, we have Kampala Capital City Authority, which runs a number of clinics under it. And for them to know that under this clinic A, they reported the number of diarrhea cases of children that came in, we are going to have that unit and we look at its cases of diarrhea. So we can have that geostatistics, that kind of data. We are looking at a fixed point. A hospital is not going to move, but we are reporting a number, and that number is continuous. That is one. We can also look at geostatistics in terms of, I don't know if I could be using the right language. We've heard of black spots along the road. So before we identify these, before these points are named black spots, we look at the number of crashes that have happened along a specific road and where exactly they happened. So that point comes to be named the black spot, and someone comes and gets its GPS location. That black spot is not going to change, but it's going to have a number of crashes happen along it or at that exact point. So because you're having such one fixed point or location of a black spot along a road, and then counting the number of crashes that have happened at that specific point, that gives us geostatistics. And how we map that one out, you will have these locations being fixed. So for them, they are not going to change. However, we are going to represent our data in the number of cases or crashes that have happened in that specific point. So here we are having them going. All of them are similar in nature because they are, let me say, hospitals, but the number of cases of diarrhea that have happened at those hospitals could be represented by the different colors. So when someone comes and is telling you, I want to know or to compare the prevalence of a certain disease or cases that are reported by a certain hospital or by a location that is fixed, there you're trying to know that what my end point is, I'm having a fixed point, but the outcome is continuous at that fixed point. Because it is continuous at that fixed point, in mind, I'm having that my data is, first of all, geostatistic in nature, and at the same time, my map is going to have these points fixed. However, I'm going to just change the way they are looking or the way they will appear in my map so that I can show the different cases. Michael, is that clear?
Yes, it is clear. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's very clear, Rogers. I just wanted to pick your mind again on what are some of the common sources of such data? Apart from me going to do primary data collection, maybe on malaria cases or something, or weather forecast, what are some of those common sources of such information?
Okay. Now, I wanted to go to that section, and I want to believe that most of us have access to the internet. These maps, usually they already, most of them are not most of them, all of them, if something is to be on a map, a person has taken the effort, or there is a body that takes the effort to go out and map the boundary of Uganda. So in Uganda, we have UBOS does that, as well as mainly does that for the internal, trying to map this division goes by this district, its parameter is like so. There's a collaboration between UBOS and the surveying companies, the Uganda National Surveyors Board, that sits down to try to identify the boundary points of each and every division within the country or any other country. In Uganda, it is the Uganda Surveyors in relation to the Uganda Bureau of Statistics. Those guys, they run the big maps. After they've run them, they put them into public domains where any person can access. So, in a way to access a map of a country, we're going to stop sharing so that we can do this while everyone else is watching. All right, so I'm going to assume that all of us are looking at something having Firefox. Is that what we are looking at?
Yes, we are.
Okay, so I could be interested in getting the map of Uganda. These maps, the way they are saved, they could have different extensions, but the most common extensions is called a shapefile. So in case you're not, you could just type in map of Uganda. However, to get the exact thing that we are going to use in R, these things are usually saved as shape files. This one is going to give us images, which is not of our interest. Sometimes it is harder to get images that are free. So the best way is to call this a shape file of Uganda. And I want to download it. So here, when we come to downloading it, we see that there are a number of bodies that have, or organizations that have put effort in getting these districts or these shape files ready. On our end, we are just end users. We don't need to know how it is done. We leave the science to them. So we could use UNHCR. However, I think my most common used is the Humanitarian Data Exchange. I found it much easier. Or the Uganda Bureau of Statistics. It's quite very heavy, or it takes long to update. But yeah, you can use the different organizations in your country. However, the ones that usually have more information, I found them to be the UNHCR, which quickly updates, and also the exchange. So here, it's better to download it as a zipped folder. So sometimes I just have to add in zip file download so that it comes when it is bigger or much easier for me to get. Yeah, so this is what I am having. You see, it is 5 MBs. Is that what we are looking at, everyone?
Yes, 5.45 MBs.
Yes.
Yes.
So here we are able to see that this was last updated in 2020. Given the mushrooming kind of districts in Uganda, I don't know if they have increased or not. 2020 to 2024. So this could also be done for any other country. So when we download this, those who are able to do this, I think feel free to run along. Feel free to run along as I am working. or I could, whether I download it and share it on the chat, still it will be the same weight. It will still be 5.4 MBs. But you can try to download for the country where you are. Then we can work on it together. So downloading this, given the speed of your PC and internet, it will come fast or take longer. So the same happens for these other sites. Somehow there is a lot of clutter that usually happens, but preferable to use. The main thing to look at is shape files. That is our main focus. So I'm going to give us some 2 or 3 minutes for everyone to download that shape file. Then we open our R. Is that fine?
Yes, it's fine, Rajas.
Okay, so let's do that. Okay, are we done? Has everyone been able to download something? How many have been successful at downloading a shapefile for any country? It's better to do it today because we are going to still download it on the Dove analysis. So when you do it today, it will be easier for you that day. Then a person who has downloaded a different country besides Uganda. Can download South Africa, Kenya, Africa itself. You can download any country where you know you will have access to the data. All right. Okay, so I'm going to share again my screen. I have, when I open my document, my folder has administrative units of 2018 and 2019. So they are going to appear like this. Here I'm having counties, districts, and sub-counties. And here we are able to see that we can open all these other files that have different extensions. The CG, the CPG, DFF, PRG, I think that one's most common in QGRS, yes, QGIS. However, this is one very common one that we usually use and easier to read in R. It gives us easy reading in as much as it is the heaviest. As well as this one. So in your folder, you should have a file whose extension is SHP, which stands for shapefile. Can we do those confirmations that those who are able to download have a file whose extension is .shp? For confirmatory purposes, you've just opened it, you've browsed, you've opened yours folder, and it has a file which has an extension SHP. To be specific, I am looking at that which you're seeing on my screen. For confirmatory purposes, is everyone having an R screen on their computer? Is it visible on your side?
Yes, it is visible.
So I want to take us through what we need for R to be able to run that shapefile that you just downloaded, and maybe map out something as of today. So I encourage us to open our R, change the working directory, or set the working directory, which I want us to set our working directory to be where we stored our shapefile. So we go to session, set working directory. We choose a directory where we have our shapefile. So I don't know if everyone is watching the steps that I am doing, but yes, that's what I'm trying to achieve on my side. So you could go along this click route where you go search for your working directory. Here. So I have this to be pasted within here. Okay, let me try to make this bright, I think. Okay. Let me if that is better. So have we been able to change our working directory? After doing that, I am working on the assumption that we are conversant with R, and that means we have it installed on our computers. We can find a way to navigate around it. That's my assumption, but in case someone is not able to
I'm just
do that, they can. Yes, please.
I'm asking on behalf of Victor. Is Victor and Calvin, just to ask, just confirming from them. We'll hear from them briefly.
Sorry, what's the question again?
Yes. Are we conversant with, have we used R before?
Oh yes, I've used a couple of times. Yeah. Yes. I'm just trying to set my working directory now. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes.
And then Calvin?
Yes, at my end, I've been doing some practice, so I think I can try to move with you. I'm not yet an expert though.
That is good to know. I have also quite a number of times failed to answer that question. When someone asks me, are you an expert at R? I don't know whether to say yes or no. Yet.
Right.
So it's good that at least I am just open to getting more into learning. So okay, now for persons who have just installed it, I think I may have to start. We may have to start right from some few basics. So I'm going to try to close this and just open a new file where all of us can be able to follow through the steps, if that is fine.
Yes, please.
Okay. Okay, so let's okay, just trying to organize my work so that we are somehow on the same page. Okay. Are we looking at a blank R script, which sometimes it comes in this way? We have, there are usually 4 windows of interest. So we have our source window where we write the source code, or we write the code. I don't know if I say code, everyone understands, but where we write our commands. And then we have the console or the terminal in the background. So usually I prefer to organize my R in such a way. And the window that has the environment, which has your history of work that you have done, the different commands you've run before, the environment that has the data which you're actively working on, as well as the connections and the tutorials. So sometimes this is usually blank. It's usually like this. Sometimes it's usually just like this. And I want to just start it from here. Here we are going to save our file, and we say we want to save this script. We want to save it as an R script so that when we come back, we are able to open it in R. So we go ahead, save our R script. Sorry, new script. Sorry, I wanted to just say, want to save it as an R script. Let me call it special day 1. So I've named my script special day 1. And in here, I'm going to just say, I want to make sure that it is running in the same folder where I have my zipped folder. Is that clear?
Yes, please.
Okay. So on my side, I've changed my zipped folder to be in the on the desktop. Yep. So you realize that when I run such a command, it appears in the console showing me the exact command that I have run. So I just paste it there. What I have said is set my working directory to be within my desktop. That's what I have just done in other words. I just want to confirm if everyone we are working with is at the same pace. Okay. Okay, so Calvin, you're having challenges, I think, with your R version. So there is within the tools section, the tools, there is an element, or there is an icon called tools. You could click there, and then we could update. I don't know which version you're having. What version are you having? Are you able to get to know your version?
Yeah, it's showing me 4.33, 4.3.3.
4.3.3.
R. Yes, please.
Okay. I think that could still work. I've not yet exploited it, but in case it does not, we may have to just install a newer version. However, let's try to run with it and see. And see if it will work.
Right.
Yes. So as you're having that error message, that warning message, now that you have set your working directory to be that, we want to install packages. Packages are runs in such a way that for you to do a certain instruction, for R to do for you a certain instruction, you're going to call upon help, if I'm to say it in such a way. For example, in case you want to sew a cloth, you may want to call upon a gadget that helps in sewing. For example, you might need to bring in a tailoring machine. So before you sew your cloth, so your aim is sewing a cloth, but what you need is a tailoring machine. So R has packages which sometimes I want to say for them, they are made to make our work easy. So they already constructed to do that specific task. So like a tailoring machine is used for tailoring. So you tell R, bring me a package or bring me this gadget that specifically executes this task. So that gadget or that machine that helps to execute a certain task in R, I want to call it, they are usually called packages, but that's the way I could explain it in simpler terms. So in case you want to map, you look for a gadget that was built to do mapping in R. In case you want to do regression analysis, you look for a gadget or you look for which we want to say a package that does analysis, regression analysis or spatial analysis or longitudinal analysis in R. So if a person wants to do literally coding and build websites, there is also a package for building websites, still within the same platform, R. So I wanted to ask if there are any questions in regards to R before I go to another section or bit of it.
None for now.
So in R, when you want to write a comment, it's better to start with hash. When you don't put an hash, it's going to be executed as a command. Now I want to first pause to inquire if when I say code, command, execute, run, if a person has not heard of those terms, I can also try to explain them, but I just want to know by show of hands. If you've never heard of, in a computer, there is a language called execute, run, comment, command, code. If that language is new, I can break it down so that we have a way to work together. If anyone is meeting that language for the first time, you can alert us and we find a way to break it down. Okay, so in R, when you do not want your line or your command to be executed or to be run, we usually start with an hash to show that it is a comment. So when I put hash at the start of it, I'm just saying, this one is just a comment, do not run it. That's what I'm telling the program. So today we are looking at spatial patterns, spatial analysis. I'm just having that. And in here, I want to write a command which I call install packages. When I say install packages, I tried to explain packages before. I said that a package is that program that eases execution of a certain command or a certain task. So for me to achieve my task, I call upon a certain program that is designed to run and do that particular task. So R might not be able to do that task unless you call such a package. So here we call them packages in R. So because they are called packages, we want to first install them onto our R program. These are not new softwares. They are just parts in the software that we are adding into the R software to make it better and to make it be able to do certain commands or tasks that we want it to do. So here, in case this is too hard to write, we could come at this point, we go to tools and say install packages. And when we come to installing packages, we look for those specific packages that help in spatial analysis. How do we know these packages? We can go to Google and say packages that support spatial analysis in R. So here I'm having R packages for spatial analysis. And I'm just using all this free information. Anything that looks good for me, I just want to know maybe the packages by name. So I read up this material. You see there is this package which they are recommending, RGDAL. We have the Clipper, and there are quite many SP, RGeos, raster for getting raster data, like what my earlier person commented about, TMAP, and they give us the importance of all these packages. Now, we don't need, for some, we may need to download them from the site, but for most of the packages, we can get them from the R itself. So when we say install packages, we come this side, we look at the abbreviation of the package. This is RDAL, which provides binding of that. So we are doing this to show us that information for R analysis is readily available, and we can learn by ourselves how to go about each and every section. So I have RDAL, and I'm going to install the SP for handling and storing of data. All this information, whenever you just get stuck, you put it in Google and it runs and does good work for us. Okay. Any questions? My number of participants is reducing. Is the work getting hard?
Rogers, just wondering if I am using the option of tools, do I just type in those abbreviations that you just Googled?
Okay, so when we are having, I'm trying to look for my exact R screen, yes. So in the screen that you're looking at, remember the other side we had packages that were. So here I could just say in those packages I had R, see, just when you write, you're trying to write it, an abbreviation of it can come up. or something closer to it. I could look for SP, and there are different SPs that come up, but my specific emphasis is on the first SP. I could go on to R deals. Data. So these are packages that I already have them in my library, but I'm expecting each one of us to install them in our R, so that next time it is easier. We just tell R to say use this package. So this helps us not to have the packages in our minds, because there are so many and they're being updated on a daily. More are coming up. So to avoid having them in the head, we just go to Google, team up. Yes, please.
Sorry to take you a bit behind. How did you reach to a point where you have that a small window that has install packages? After writing the command, what did you do next?
Oh. Okay. So there are two ways to install the packages. I can come here and I install my packages, and I say SP SF team-up. I could use this. That is in case I know them off head, or I have seen them on internet and I want to write them. I can use that route. Or I could just remove that and go to tools. I say install packages. I go to tools, install packages, and I begin from the ones that I saw in my Google, and I just say team up, SP, SF. Any of the packages that they have told me will help me to run R. At the moment, we are just doing blindly, but as we go on, we will want to know specifically what each package will help us to get.
Oh.
Yes. So we do that. So we can type as many packages here as we can. Then we just click install. So
Roger,
on my side, yes,
Roger,
please.
do you know why my rigidal is not among the packages? That RGDAL.
So I think the best, sometimes these packages are updated, sometimes they're outdated. Because I've also tried to look at it in my R, it seems not to be there. It should be a new version, and maybe the older version was scrapped.
Okay.
That's what I'm thinking, most likely.
Okay.
Yes. So I want us to install these packages, meaning that I would, for example, OpenStreet, this one has been put in a new package. There's a package that has OpenStreet, yet originally we had OpenStreet as a package of its own. But now we are having a new package that contains OpenStreet. So I don't need to download OpenStreet. because there is a package that has open street. So here I would expect us to install leaflets, which will help us to also do open street. In my side, I'm already having it, but yes, on your side, I would request that you download it. Team up. Is team up among this? Yeah, team up tools. So let us download. We go to our tools, install, and type in the packages the way you are seeing them on your screen. Let me just try to widen it a little, make it bigger. So we are doing tidyverse, which should be there. I leave a space, I install SF, SP, SPDPEG, RGDAL. I'm not sure it will load at the moment. RDOS is also outdated, but we can try to see if we can install it. The raster, leaflet. So can we download this couple of packages in our R? I think when you type the word install, it is going to run for some time. Okay, are we making some progress?
Yes, please.
Okay. Okay, have our packages fully installed? Right. Now, I want us to, after we've installed our packages, for each
Do
of
we
those
know that-
packages, we have, come again?
How do we know that? How do we know that
How do we know that?
How do we know that the installation of the packages is successful?
How do we know that the installation is successful? Is that the question? Are you able to see what I'm running? So I've
Yes,
told R to install this, and it is telling me the R tools, it has given me a warning. However, it went ahead to go to this site, download all the content, the zipped folder, and it gives me a message. It has successfully unpacked and checked. The downloaded packages are in. So this has been installed into my R. That is the way I get to know that a package has successfully been installed.
Thank you.
Are we clear up to this stage?
Well, Rogers, mine says download of package SP failed, download of package SF failed.
Is this the one that had the unupdated version of R?
No,
Okay, are you able to share screen? You see, I'm going to stop sharing.
I am using two different things because I have Zoom on the phone. My laptop doesn't have Zoom.
But you can download it there, Michael.
Yes, I can.
You could download the Zoom app on your laptop. It will do you great. To help you a lot. Because moving forward, we may want to be sharing our screen to troubleshoot some codes here and there. You
Okay,
know,
let me do that.
in R, just a small thing, even just a comma can make the code fail to run, and you'll be so stressed the whole day.
Okay, so I'm trying to think how to help out. Option number 2. Option number 2 would have been to take a screenshot. Okay, thank you, Phoebe. You're still running yours. I'm trying to think for Calvin. Was it Calvin who was saying his is not
It was Michael.
Michael? Okay, so are you able maybe to take a picture of that? We don't have a WhatsApp group. Okay. Prosy, are you able to create a quick WhatsApp group? Put us all in as the entire class. Then when someone has a challenge that they are running, they can just share the pictures there. Then we can maybe try to troubleshoot as we wait for, in case he has the ability to download Zoom.
Yes, that's possible. I'm going to do it after this session.
Okay. So I don't know if you have put commas, but you just, when in the case you are using tools and say install packages, you just press space bar. So it should be SP space SF space. That's option 1. Option number 2, you just install one at a time. For example, if it is Tidyverse, I want to install it alone. So mine already is already there, so it brings me such an error. But try to install each of them at one time other than one whole string of packages. Try to install one at a time, and maybe you could share the error message it shows. I don't know if that is possible. Maybe we can try to troubleshoot from that side. Yes, Victor, please go ahead.
Thank you. I managed to install and install some of the packages, but two of them I'm having a bit problem with them. So I installed the package, but when I'm running the libraries, they're saying the package is not found, but they have successfully installed. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, we are able to hear you. Okay. You can type those packages in the chat.
Okay.
I see
Or
if we
maybe
can get maybe other packages that could run the same.
okay, I'm thinking that maybe I've misspelled it or something, but the thing is that they have successfully installed. But let me just type them in the chat. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, can we have some successful hands? Are there people who have successfully installed some packages? I think we are having those that are giving us trouble at the moment. Those who are having trouble with the R Gios and R Gidal. Okay, those who have successfully installed all packages, just raise up your hand.
Mr. Nsug, I wanted
Yes,
to inquire from you if it would be wise if you'd perhaps tell us the version of R you're using. Maybe we could download the same so that we harmonize.
Oh, okay. I think
Yeah.
one of the facilitators is going to get to you.
Right.
One of the facilitators is going to get to you, but okay. I'm seeing I'm trying to understand maybe the issue with the errors. And okay, so we are going to focus on the SF. I'm trying to find maybe another alternative package, but I think for our very first map, let's focus on the SF. That was the package that had SF. So we are loading the SF and the SP first. We could also look for the ggplot2. So I'm going to maybe adjust this to have, we are loading the tidyverse, SF and SP. For those who are not able to get all the other packages, let's see maybe if those could download. Come again? We're going to fix it. You're picking something for me? Okay, there people have successfully installed at least 3, that is the Tidaverse, SP, and SF.
Rogers, is there a way I can stop the other old commands from running? Because I don't know if I can run a new command when the other old one is still running.
Are you able to share your screen?
Yeah, I can.
Please do. Maybe we can look at it.
This is what I'm seeing.
Someone could help me with this. Usually, I don't know if that stop button works, but there is that red button which says stop. I don't know if it works. The other option would be to close R and restart. So you would be to go to session and maybe close session, restart R so that we don't lose a lot.
That usually works. Maybe she can first try that.
Hi, alternatively, you can escape.
I've pressed the
Okay.
escape button several times, but
On the console,
oh,
here, there.
here, interrupt.
Yes, yeah. And I would
I say no to this.
really be interested to know why you want to. Do you want to install? Yes,
I click yes.
but that means if you have installed. Yes. Click
Okay.
yes. Yeah. Yeah, so you will wait until it completes the installation process and you use the red button. So when it goes off, you will know that the installation is complete.
Okay, let me stop sharing, then I'll update you.
Okay.
All right, we are trying to find a way to draw our very first map in history in R so that we can have this as a public holiday. And this is what it means to go through it. We are breaking so many rules. So are there people who have been successful at this as yet? Mainly, I want that those who have been able to install SF, SP, Tidaverse. So I have Calvin, Prosy, Abel, Victoria. That is so far good. Phoebe, what is the progress before? And then Michael.
Mine is still running.
So I'm going to share again and try to ask us to see if we can, I think most of the commands I'm having are quite outdated. So I'm going to try to.
Excuse me, Rogers.
Yes, please.
Well, I have put Zoom on the PC. I wanted to show you what it is saying.
Oh, please.
I have tried to again repeat installing SF and it shows this. So if I try for SP, this was successful, the SP. I already have tidyverse, but SF up to now has failed.
Use the same procedure for SF. Let's wait for it.
Hi, so as a warning, you can see that R tools is required to build R packages. So you have to install the R
Pardon?
tool first if you haven't yet. I'm saying I can see a warning that R tools is required to build R packages. Do you have R tools already, or you?
I don't know, my network isn't good. I can't get you well.
Okay, what she's trying to say, in my opinion, there are certain tools that you may need to install on your site. However,
Okay.
why your thing also was failing when you type installed, in your command, you're having installed packages. It's supposed to be installed packages. Here, when you say installed packages, you're telling R to give you the packages that are installed into it.
Okay, I wasn't actually using this one. I was using the tools directly.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So now SF has still failed?
Yes.
Okay, could someone on the group help me? I'm trying to debug this in my...
What is Zara tools? This I thought it was this.
Let me just look up a solution. On my side, most of my tools.
Just to try again, Ambi, did you try to let me see. You're on version 4.3, eh?
Yes.
And the packages. You try to use you are now on you see where your packages are?
Yes.
There, click there. Try to click install. Try to put SF. Yeah, then you see where there's no, before you run, you click on that install library and we see, click on that drop down menu. No, leave it. You try to run. You try to call it up and we see library SF.
As if it's not yet over because
Yeah, it is still running. Yeah.
Yes.
It is fair. Yeah. Actually on my laptop I'm using 4.3.1. Yours is 4.3.2. You try to stop sharing and run the code that they've given the group and we see. Damaris is trying to give you some code. Rogers, yeah, just because of time, we could proceed. We could help our colleagues later on.
Okay, so now that we have, there is one extra package that I want us to load. One extra package that I'd thought that we could load. And there's a package called SF. SF, we have it. Now I want us to load a package called glue. Like there we have spark glue or wood glue, like glue. Okay. I'm trying to debug something on my side. Most of my code seems outdated. Okay, just hold on a minute. Okay, something is not working out. Okay, my apologies. I'm trying to run something. It's not working. So let me first share what I have. Try to debug it. It's not yet working out. Okay. Okay, so originally I had these packages, and I've come to learn that most of them are outdated. So they are not really helpful in trying to give me my first map when I read it from as a shape file. So when you run the unzipped, to the same of opening your zipped folder, this is our zipped folder in our, then you get that we glue it up into one shape file, into one thing, and then we open it, and it's not yet responding to the way it's supposed to be opened. But just give me more 5 minutes to say that I get this fixed. And in case it is not fixed in the next 5, I request we would start on it tomorrow morning. Abel, you could advise.
No,
I try to update my
that is okay.
file. Mm.
That's okay. Michael, you check on our WhatsApp group for facilitators. We could do, I think today was a great session. Could we end here and then we'll pick it up tomorrow at 2 p.m.
Okay, that is fine. Let me apologies for taking that much long. Let me look at how to update my files and have them run.
Also want to help those who are still struggling such that they can be on the same page.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that is still fine. Otherwise, thank you, everyone. Thank you for being such a great class, quite involving. And thank you for being so open to ask as many questions as you can and being bold to share your screens when you get stuck. It is how we learn, and it is how I also learned. In the end, we end up being better and we sharpen each other. So I want to say thank you. I'll hand it over to the course coordinator. Thank you so much.